Hello, everyone. Well, you voted as a class, and today we get to start our new Read Aloud book, Zoey and Sassafras, Monsters and Mold. And I'm guessing that the girl is Zoey and that maybe Sassafras is the cat and this is the monster. We'll have to read and find out. You know we like to take sneak peeks at the beginning of the book to see what the book might be about, so I'm going to read you the back cover so we can get an idea. A monster shows up looking for help with an embarrassing problem. Zoey is sure it will be a simple fix, but her first two tries at helping him fail, and she has a sobbing monster on her hands. Will Zoey and Sassafras solve the problem in time for Gorp to go to the annual monster ball? And I think we've talked about this before, but a ball is like a dance. There's two kinds of balls. All right, so let me look inside. And I see that there's a table of contents. And in this book, there are 13 chapters and a glossary. And I bet you remember that a glossary is at the end of a book. And a glossary teaches you what some of the words mean in the book. If you come to a word you don't know, sometimes it's in the glossary and it will tell you what it means. We'll look at that as we read the book if we need to. Chapter 1, The Bread Experiments. Oh, and before Chapter 1, there's something called a prologue. Take a look at this. A prologue is something that goes before the book actually starts, or the story actually starts, and it tells what happened before the story starts. So let's read the prologue first, and then we can start Chapter 1. Prologue. These days, my cat Sassafras and I are always desperately hoping we'll hear our barn doorbell. I know most people are excited to hear the doorbell ring. It might mean a present or a package delivery or a friend showing up to play. But our doorbell is even more exciting than that, because it's a magic doorbell. When it rings, it means there's a magical animal waiting outside our barn. A magical animal who needs our help. My mom's been helping them basically her whole life, and now I get to help them too. Here's the picture. The first chapter is called Chapter 1, The Bread Experiments. Splunk! I laughed. The sound of moldy bread squishing inside the Ziploc bag was super gross, so I poked the bag again. Splurk! My cat jumped up on the table to see what I was doing. A cool breeze from the window ruffled his fluffy fur, and he squinted in the sunlight. Splunk! He jumped backward and hissed. It's okay, Sassafras, I said, giggling and tickling his chin. The mold is sealed inside the bag. It won't get you, kitty. My cat didn't look convinced. It's actually really cool. I'm running 2 experiments with the old bread Mom found. See? I said, and pointed across the room. That experiment over there is testing whether wet bread molds faster than dry bread. I poked the bag on the table again. And this one is testing whether warm bread molds faster than cold bread. That's why it is here in the sun. Sassafras poked a tool at the bag and wrinkled his nose. There are other bags in the fridge and freezer, but they don't have any mold yet, which means this one is much more fun to look at. Don't you think, kitty? Sassafras scrunched up his face and jumped off the table. I guess he didn't enjoy these mold experiments as much as I did. Maybe he was too busy hoping the magic doorbell would ring. But ever since the sweet baby dragon I nursed back to health had left, the doorbell had been disappointingly silent. I was trying to fill... Here's a picture of them looking at the mold. I was trying to fill my time with experiments to keep my mind busy. Working on science was way more fun than sitting outside my mom's office, waiting and waiting and waiting for the sound of the magic doorbell. I sighed. Outside the window, there was a rustling in the bushes. Sassafras leapt onto the table. He pointed his ears toward our backyard, and he held very still, listening. You heard that right, I whispered to Sassafras. He meowed once in reply, without taking his eyes off the yard. We both pressed our faces to the window screen. Maybe it was a deer or a cute little chipmunk. The bushes rattled again. Then something or someone crashed and cleared its throat. Sassafras and I jumped. Okay, I think we'll have a time for chapter 2, which is called Pardon Me. I wonder who that is that's clearing their throat. My heart pounded and my stomach did flip-flops. I couldn't think of any forest animal that cleared its throat. My mom was out rushing errands. Should I get my dad? Maybe I just imagined that noise. I could think of one way to find out. Hello, is there someone out there? I squeaked. The shrubs parted, and a creature about the same size as me walked out. He was furry, orange, and had giant ears with 2 horns on top of his head. He squinted at me and Sassafras with 2 big eyes. He looked like a monster. I stood there frozen with my mouth hanging open. The monster brushed his fur off and cleared his throat again. He seemed like he was about to say something. Could monsters talk? Sassafras broke the silence by launching out of my arms. Before I could stop him, he flew out the cat door and raced toward the monster outside. I began to follow, but stopped. That was an awfully tall monster, but then again, I didn't want Sassafras to get hurt. What should I do? I took a deep breath. Mom never said there were dangerous magical creatures in our forest, so maybe the monster was really big and really friendly. I crossed my fingers that this would be true as I ran outside. The monster stood with his arms in the air, looking terrified. Sassafras galloped toward him. Once he was close enough, my cat leapt into the air and aimed straight at the monster's chest. And the monster screamed, "What is that? Eek! Help me!" He stumbled backward. Was my cat trying to leap into the monster's arms? The monster wouldn't keep still, so Sassafras gave up and started purring furiously at the trembling monster's feet. He bumped his head against the monster's legs and kept purring. Here they are. The monster put his hands up to his cheeks and horror and shrieked again. "It's trying to eat me! I can hear its tummy growling from here! Oh, help me!" So I scooped up Sassafras into my arms. "I'm so sorry. My cat isn't trying to hurt you. I think he just really likes you." Sassafras strained in my arms, wanting to love on that monster more. I squeezed him to my chest a little tighter. "He likes me enough to eat me," the monster huffed. I giggled. "Sassafras eats cat food, not monsters. I promise." So the monster calmed down a bit. He took a closer look at me and wrinkled his face. "I thought you were a bigger human from the stories I've heard in the forest." I stood up a bit straighter. "The stories were probably about my mom, but I'm big enough to help you." The monster raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure? You seem rather small." I moved Sassafras over to my hip. "I know all about the magic doorbell and the barn. I even helped a baby dragon all by myself." "Really?" The monster seemed a little more convinced. "I love dragons." "Me too," I said with a sigh, remembering Little Marshmallow. "I figured out what was wrong with a baby dragon who didn't even speak, so I'm sure I can help you," I added confidently. "I mean, really, how hard could this be with someone who could answer questions?" The monster looked me over once more, then he nodded. "As I'm sure you know, it's almost time for the annual Monster Ball." The Monster Ball? An annual monster dance? The thought of a bunch of monsters dancing together almost made me laugh out loud. I didn't want to seem rude, though. I also didn't want to look like I had never heard of the Monster Ball, so I nodded and smiled. "Well, anyway, it's coming up in a few days," he continued. "For as long as I can remember, I've, had a bit of an embarrassing problem. And because of it, I've never gone to the big dance. But I'd really like to go this year. I was hoping you could help me get rid of it." At this, he turned around, and I gasped. The the monster's fur was covered in mold. There's a picture. All right. Next time we meet, we'll read chapter 3. And maybe you can be thinking about, do you think Zoey is going to be able to help the monster so it can go to the ball? She does seem to be learning a lot about mold. She's doing some mold experiments with bread. Maybe you can try some mold experiments at your house. All right, see you next time. Bye.